Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. Before we get into today's episode, I wanted to say thank you to all of the listeners of the Junkies Podcast. This show takes a lot of time and effort to put together, from planning out the episodes, lining up the guests, recording, editing, and promoting. And I've been doing this all on my own for the past 4 years now and putting out new episodes every week. It's been a lot, and there's been several times that I've actually considered ending the show. But then I get an email, a DM, or a message to my website about how the podcast has helped someone along their welding journey, and those messages are what encouraged me to keep going and putting out new episodes. So I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to all the listeners out there who continue to support the show. Thank you all for supporting the show sponsors and using the promo codes at checkout. Thank you for leaving the reviews on Apple and Spotify. I appreciate you all, and as long as you all continue to support me and my work, I'll continue to keep the show going. Now let's get into today's episode. Today's guest is Jaylon Marshall, a young welding entrepreneur out of Little Rock, Arkansas. Jaylon has a massive work ethic and is super savvy when it comes to business strategies. Right now, he's in the process of taking his current business to the next level. In this episode, we talk about how and why he chose welding as a career path and how he started his business. Jaylon shares some of the ways he got set up and how he initially marketed his business to his community. He has an extremely interesting story, and we'll get right into it after a quick word from the folks that keep this show up and running. Today's episode of the Junkies Podcast is brought to you by SendCutSend. Are you wanting to take on more work or bigger jobs but don't have CNC cutting and bending capabilities? Let SendCutSend help you land that next big job. I wish they had been around when I was running my mobile welding business. I had to work with local shops that had very high minimum work order requirements. I couldn't just go get one piece cut. I had to spend a minimum of $500 just to place an order, and lead times could be anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks out. But with SendCutSend, there's no minimum number of parts, and they send your order out within 1 to 2 days after you place it. Whether you need one part or 1,000, SendCutSend can handle it, and you'll get your parts cleaned, deburred, and ready to weld or install right out of the box. SendCutSend gives you access to services like laser cutting, CNC bending, PEM inserts, powder coating, and more, all under one roof and with just in a few clicks. Just upload your DXF or step file and you're good to go. Visit SendCutSend today to place your first order and tell them the Junkies sent you. We're also brought to you by Outlaw Leather. Outlaw makes great custom welding hoods. They can bring your favorite designs to life on functional welding hoods, durable bolt bags, heavy-duty arm pads, and more. They're the originators of this type of custom leather work, and even with all their popularity of their hoods and gear, they're still made by hand right here in the United States in Pasadena, Texas. Outlaw also carries everything you need as a welder to include hand and power tools, consumables, PPE, fabrication and layout tools, and more. You can visit their shop in person, or you can place an order on their website, outlawleather.com, and get fast, easy shipping right to your door. And as a listener to the Junkies Podcast, you can save 15% off on all their in-stock handmade leather goods when you use Junkies in the discount box at checkout. That's outlawleather.com. All right, you know what time it is. Fire up your machine, drop your hood, and turn me up 5.
Thank you for downloading show number 331 of the Junkies Podcast.
You're listening to the Junkies Podcast, helping you make every weld better than your last with each episode. And now your host, Jason Becker.
Jaylon, welcome to Junkies.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing good, man. I appreciate you coming out. You know, I know you're a busy man. You're an entrepreneur, right? So I mean, like, you pretty much own, operate, and run your own business, correct?
Yes, sir. That's it.
And how did you? Well, first of all, why welding?
Well, when I first looked at welding, I went off to play college football at Arkansas State, so I really didn't take getting a degree too serious. I, had that mentality of football only. And so I ended up choosing a social work degree, but once I graduated, I realized it wasn't no real money in it, for sure. And it was a bad investment on my end because I didn't really look into or know what I wanted to do at the time. So I got on my phone like everybody and started Googling highest paid trades. So I came across quite a few different things, but welding stuck out to me most because I remember the guys that I grew up around, and when they were in high school, they were actually into the workshop program and welding program in our high school. So I thought it was attractive, but I, had that young mentality of thinking football only at the time.
Okay. And welding is such a cool career to get into, and like more people, like obviously the industry as a whole, we're trying to recruit younger and younger people to get into the industry. I mean, you don't look that old. Do you mind if I ask how old you are? You
Right.
seem
I,
rather
I
young.
just turned 28.
Okay, so yeah, you're still fairly young. So I mean, it's good that welding still has that appeal. Now the problem is, a lot of people, they go into it for the money, and which, I mean, that's not really a problem. I mean, everybody's got to figure out a way to make a living, but they get into it and then they're like, man, this sucks, and I hate going to work every day. But like, some of the stuff that I've seen you do, you really take pride in your craft. You have it seems like you have a lot of fun doing this. You're sharing it with other people. You're out there inspiring other people to pursue this trade or become an entrepreneur. I think that aspect is really cool, just to bring in younger people.
That's right. And so that's exactly my whole motive is entrepreneurship, which is you just find that one thing that you're actually good at, that trade or skill. And I never knew that I was so into this type of work until I actually got in the field and started going to, Tulsa welding school, learning this type of stuff. And it became really like a light bulb in my head. I was like, oh, wow, once I obtain this skill of welding and fabrication, that can grow into me having my own business one day, and I can hire my own set of welders or do mobile welding services. And so that was my beginning mentality. It's like, I have this asset and I'm going to go on a job to get the training that I would need to get that kind of savvy with my skill tools. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So that's more so my mentality, and I highly encourage people to figure out, what do you like to do? It comes to find out I like hard tasks. I like to problem solve because when you get in the mobile welding field, you gotta know how to improvise. You know how to fabricate on site. You may need to add. You may need to take away. Those type of things, only experience and failure can give you that knowledge and understanding, so
Yeah.
you can improve your craft. So that journey alone of the challenge, the adversity, is what I'm attracted to the most, because I need to push myself daily. I guess it's that athlete mentality still in me, because once you can use that discipline with the skill and trade in the world, it's an unstoppable, force.
Oh, 100%. And like, you're the solution. A lot of people, like, when you think about that, a client or a customer, they call you up because they have a problem. You're the solution. They're not able to figure it out. So you roll up on site and you kind of save the day. And you do that through welding. And like you said, you got to be able to think on your feet. There's a lot of troubleshooting. Do I need to add material? Do I need to take it away? I got to come up with a solution that not only remedies the current problem, but prevents it in the future. I get a lot of repeat business because things don't break. The things that I work on, the things that I weld on, they don't break. A lot of times, I'll get a part or a piece from a customer and they're like, hey, this part's broke. Okay, so when I get that part, I'll go through it and I'll also make some, they don't always ask, but like I'll make some improvements and say, hey, I added a small gusset here. I went ahead and put a bigger weld on this area because this is, if this part failed, this one's going to fail over here. So it's kind of like added value for the customer. And I don't go like way above and beyond, but I want to be that solution because I want that repeat business.
That's right.
Now, so like you went through college, that didn't work out, the trajectory as far as the money. So you went into welding school. How long did you spend over in Tulsa?
Oh, that was, for one, I just have to say, Tulsa, Oklahoma is a rough city. But I did a 7.5 month program to get the professional welder certification. And yeah, I originally had moved from Jonesboro, Arkansas over to Fayetteville. Nicer scenery, nicer piece of land over there. But it started popping up on my phone one day. You know how Google is with these smartphones. All I did was say it out loud. And then I
It's all
started seeing
listening.
an advertisement for, enrolling in that spring course for 7 months in Tulsa. So yeah, I got to know the city very well. I was in some interesting circumstances while I was there. But I endured through it. It was a interesting time period of my life because it was a lot of growth and a lot of endurance during that time period of, trying something new, getting out of my comfort zone. A big thing is humility. And that was the greatest thing because once I got on the job site, I couldn't read a measuring tape. I know it sounds crazy, us being a tradesman, but I wasn't that savvy with a lot of the tools. It was new to me. So I had to put in that extra overtime after work. I'm on my phone, YouTubing how to do this, what are 16ths? You know what I mean? It was an embarrassing moment. He was like, hey, I need you to cut that leg out and move it back to 37 and 5/16. And now I'm looking like, okay, I got this 37, but what's the 5/16? But yeah, it was a lot of humility, growth to get to this point. And so, yeah, I know the question was about Tulsa, but yeah, that's what I learned at that time period when I was in Tulsa is these things that I didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's nothing to be ashamed of not knowing how to read a tape measure because I've that's one of my big focal points. I've got a education background for welding. So I've taught for the past 9 years. I'm currently an educator, and that's usually one of the things when I was teaching full time at the college. That was the first thing that I taught day one after we went through introductions to syllabus and safety. I was like, all right, before we get to this welding stuff, that's the cool part, right? Y'all need to learn how to run a measuring tape. And I would go through and give everybody a tape measure test just to see where everybody was, because a lot of people say they can read one, even though they can't read a tape measure. They don't want to be that one person that's like, oh, yeah, I don't know how to do it, and pump the brakes on the whole class. So I'd give everybody a test, and 90% of the people that were coming in the program couldn't read a tape measure, and it's not their fault. They'd never been exposed to it. They'd never been required to utilize that tool before, and I've got 2 kids. One's in elementary school. The other one's getting ready to go into high school next year. My son will probably, in school, never do anything with, measurements using the standard system ever again.
Right.
Until, he gets into a trade or something like that. My daughter, she just learned, probably about a year or 2 ago, like feet, inches, she's working on fractions and stuff now. But once they get done with elementary school, they never touch a tape measure. They never touch a ruler. They switch over to all these different measuring systems that we typically don't use here stateside. So they never see that. So you get a group of, postgraduate high school students into a welding program, and they don't know how to read a tape measure. So it's not their fault. They've just never been exposed to it. So that's something like I shore that up so that by the time they leave, y'all are going to be able to run a tape measure, because that's a big thing. Everything we do as a welder revolves around measurements. It's got to be put in the right spot. It doesn't matter how great that weld looks. If it's in the wrong spot, if it's the wrong size, it's no good at all. It doesn't matter how great it looks. You'd be like, yeah, man, take a picture, put it on Instagram, see if you can get some likes on there, but cut it back out and, put it where it's supposed to be now.
Absolutely.
Now, do you think that welding school in general, I'm not saying anything, about the school that you went to or anything like that, but do you think just welding school in general prepared you enough to kind of break out on your own once you finish class?
Yes. And the reason why I say yes first is because that textbook knowledge and understanding of what you're about to perform is so necessary, meaning taking the time to learn what the numbers stand for on the electrodes. See, that's the most valuable thing that you can obtain is that knowledge and understanding. You may be as talented as you want, but if you don't know the playbook, you're no good in the field. So that classroom work is vital, and it's something that people need to take more serious, because the more knowledge and understanding you obtain, the better you can be with that skill set. You may be naturally talented. You can run, 6G pipe, 60-10 root, 70-18 filling cap, perfect. But if you're on the job site, can you be trusted to do the right thing, grab the correct electrode, know the proper protocols? See, that's more so what I would be concerned with hiring my guys as a mobile welding subcontractor. You know what I mean? With these jobs, I need to be able to trust that you have that knowledge and understanding. When you get on a job site, you might not need 75-25 mix. You may need a tri-mix on this if you're going to MIG it. You know what I mean? These type of things you need to be able to find the answers to while you're in motion on these jobs. So yes, I do believe that the classroom give me the knowledge and understanding to apply when I go and do the infield work.
The classroom is so underrated by so many people in the welding industry as a whole. And it's like, do you understand that the smarter you are when it comes to this stuff, the less mistakes you're going to make,
Absolutely.
the better you're going to look, the bigger problem solver you're going to be, because you understand the difference between, like you were saying, you got 75-25 or you got a trimix for specific applications. What polarity am I going to hook this machine up? Because each process it's got certain characteristics where you have to select a different polarity. You got to select a different shielding gas. Sometimes you got to run 100% CO2. Sometimes it's just 75-25. Sometimes in a pinch, I can get away with 100% CO2. Like, knowing those things is going to make you such a better, more well-rounded welder at the end of the day than knowing how to lay a straight bead or getting that 6G cert. It's so invaluable, and I wish a lot more schools focused in on the fundamentals and the basics versus 100% of the time in the booth. Don't worry about your machine. The instructor's already set it up for you. Just go out there and weld with it. Don't touch the knobs. They're exactly where you need them to be. No, you can't learn that way. You got to go over there and you got to twist the knobs. You got to see exactly what they do.
Absolutely.
Now, once you got out of school, you went to work for an employer for a little bit?
Yes. So I thought I was gonna go work on Ingalls shipbuilding yard because Tulsa, the way they got it set up, the end of the program, you get to test out in front of some companies or whatever. So that was my first job offer. I was like, maybe I am at a point in my life I just need a change of scenery. I was considering going to Virginia, you know what I mean? But lo and behold, after a while, I had got back and completed school around that September, and I applied for a job exactly where I left off up in Northwest Arkansas. It's around the Fayetteville, Arkansas area. It's a little small town called Tonytown between Fayetteville and Springdale. And I saw this job pop up, and it was just perfect hours. That I'm an early guy, so I can leave and have the rest of my day. So I saw 6 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. I was like, oh man, those are awesome. And then you get your overtime, make your money. But my first welding job was at DNF Equipment Sales, which is making stainless steel products. So we made things like conveyor belts and all kind of massive structures for warehouses. Anybody who's going to be dealing with stainless steel mainly. And my goodness, did it change my perspective on the welding industry. From having just an employee mentality, I got to see the whole operation of how the engineer is coming up with these different prototypes for different products. And then we got the sales team. We got the install crew that get to work on the road, just seeing that opened up my mind. I'm in the conditions that I'm in at the time, at the time I was homeless, 2020, I graduated at an interesting time period. 2020 is when I graduated, and then January came around. By February, I didn't have a job, but bills don't stop. So I was in these circumstances to where I just, packed up my little truck and, slept in a Walmart parking lot. Did the same thing in Tulsa, Oklahoma, right down the street from the school. So when I endured through that, I was able to get me a welding job at DNF, and it was amazing. I used to sleep at the job. You know what I mean? I was there working 12s all week because, when you start working a big boy job, you go from working 40 to 60 hours consistently until you make production and get this stuff out. So during that time period, I learned so much, and I was blessed to be able to, have my business take off. My other business I was working on, I used to get off work from DNF, go to my truck, get on my laptop, and start learning how to make money from content, learning these different things. And so that was my first work that was, that took off, was making content on social media. And I was like, oh, wow, this is the golden opportunity to monetize my welding skills. So if anything, circumstances, adversity is the thing that increased my knowledge and understanding to be able to utilize what I learned at my first job and turn it into my own business. And so that was the most wonderful thing that could have happened to me, was those circumstances in order to get to this outcome that I am at now. So I don't have, before I started my mobile welding business, we just hit 1 year mark of being in business, and the growth, the different opportunities that's being presented through it, the networking, the people and the relationships that I'm building through this is absolutely amazing. And, I hope I answered the question, but that's the opportunity that my first job gave me right out of welding school. And I worked there for just about under a year, and then things were looking pretty good for me so far, and it's a blessing. There's nothing special about what I've done. I just give all credit, to where it's due.
Now, how long were you homeless? I had no idea that was part of your story.
Yes, sir. So since October 2020, all the way into March 2022.
Wow.
So yeah, I had this little 2-door extended cab Toyota Tundra. At some point it became peace. Now that I didn't have to, stress and worry about rent, I just went out on faith. Really, I was always consistent as an entrepreneur. Like, no kidding you, I used to get off of work and go straight to my truck, because I had my first business that I started was a Forex business, teaching people how to trade in the market. And I would have to host these live sessions. And so I would get off work and run to my truck, get on my laptop, cut the engine on to charge up my battery. And I'm running Zoom calls. I never spoke on my situation ever. And, it's really amazing, because not complaining is a major thing I want young men to understand. Because adversity is going to step at your front door no matter what. But that's your defining moment. My coach used to always tell me, adversity introduces you to yourself. As soon as things get hard on you, and your pockets are empty and you're all favored out and you're sad and depressed, and you only got one source to call on, you know what I mean? So in that moment, you got to make that decision. I'm tired of living like this. I'm tired of being the way I am. It forces change in a man when you go through these type of situations. And if it wasn't for you maintaining that goal, like, I want to accomplish this thing, I want to get this, and I'm going to give it my best ability. So it was actually an amazing opportunity to see how so many of my peers was complaining, whining, wimping around. And I'm like, at least y'all got somewhere to go at night. You know what I mean? I'm just like, wow, I prided myself on not complaining, not telling anybody, and suffer silently. So other people would view me as having strength, but I was really at my weakest. That's amazing in itself. But yeah, that, to answer the question, yes, sir. That is the opportunity that my first job led to, and I was in those circumstances for about 2 years, and it was consistent studying and filling my head with knowledge and understanding is the only reason, because I already had the work ethic from football. I was already disciplined to get up at 5 a.m. I already had the muscle, but I didn't have the understanding. I didn't have the knowledge that I needed to get myself out of the situation that I was in.
Damn, that's incredible. I had no idea when I asked you to come on the podcast. Like, I saw your work and stuff. I had no idea that you had went through that, and to be in that situation and not give up. Like you said, being in a situation of adversity, not giving up, suffering in silence. So many people would have taken an easier way out or just completely given up. And there you are, working 60 hours a week, getting off work, running Zoom calls on foreign currency and, putting things together and lining yourself up to to get better and studying and educating yourself and learning more. That's awesome, man. My hat's off to you. That's a hell of a story of tenacity and determination.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So when did you start your own mobile business?
All right. So I can only tell you the truth. I can't lie to you, make it sound fly to you. So it was the beginning of 2023. At that point, I was blessed to make tons of money from my phone. I mean, not millions, but, over $100,000 just from my phone making content. And I was like, wow. So the beginning of 2023, me and my wife just got back to Arkansas. We spent New Year's in Greensboro, North Carolina. And I kid you not, just out of nowhere, people start trying to take my channel down, copyright strikes coming at me. And then I beat all the copyright strikes, but they told me I had to demonetize my channel. So adversity, you got to start over essentially at that point. And so I'm so grateful that happened to me to this day, man, because the mobile welding business, I was too complacent. Once you get to that point to where money just comes in, you get comfortable. And it's true. You do get comfortable. You don't work as hard as you used to because it is easy when you got no financial stress at all in your life. But in that moment to where, okay, now you got to start over, I would have never had that fire and zeal to start up this business and put the money where it needed to, which is investing in my equipment. That's when it triggered in me like, hey, I need to get some real life work going. The internet is one thing, but a man got to physically work. So boom, I started getting on my phone, doing my research, like what's the most cost efficient way? What's the most, and I'm trying to strategize my last $5,000. I'm just trying to strategize it. So I made the investment where it mattered the most, meaning that welding machine, that $1,000 little Lincoln multi-process welder, that $1,000 generator, all my angle grinders, and I had a lot of my tools and stuff from welding school anyway, so I didn't need much. So that's when it was like, that's how I utilize all of my past experience as an entrepreneur into this. So I got to making the website, got to designing, got to making my own brand logos and setting up my professional email. And then I'm okay, now it's time to actually start strategizing. Let me work some jobs. Let me get my name out there and let's become reputable at this point. Let me work my reviews up. Because if anything, we know how I took an online course in my truck. So I learned how to tap into the search engine optimization. So Google alone, anybody typing in Arkansas, mobile welder near me, I need a welder, ArcBond is popping up because we tapping into where the people are already looking for the products, looking for the services. And, Google is always spying on people anyway. So they already are trying to point the people in the correct direction to get exactly what they're trying to buy, because it only helps Google. All these transactions are made. So now I'm like, okay, got that set up. Now it's time to monetize the content, because I don't think people understand. You're already going to be doing this work anyway. You might as well cut that camera on and capitalize off of it. It's your work. Just cut that camera on and record yourself and essentially become an educator. Teach people and give people the advice and skill set tips that you learned along the way, because that tends to be way more financially profitable than me working these day-to-day contracting services. And it shouldn't be this way. It makes me cringe every time I think about somebody can run and jump and throw a football and make more than people who build the country, keep society functioning. We value entertainment more than a working man's hands. And I think something is wrong with that. So we got to bring back making this look more appealing to younger men that's looking up to us, because kids are influenced. They're easily influenced. Kids talking about, I want to be like this athlete. I want to be like this celebrity. Oh, I like this song. They easily influence. So we need to start making these skill sets more attractable to young men, because they want to just be entertainers now. Even my experience at Arkansas Juvenile Assessment, that's what I use my social work degree, is talking and putting these type of programs, welding and trade programs, in these type of places. Because when you give these guys something to do, the younger generation under me, they so creative. I thought my generation was creative, but those guys, see, the greatest asset this country has are the young men. So if we not pouring into them, well, you can already see what direction society is going into. You can see it. So, yeah, it's been a journey. So that's how I got to this point. And it's constantly growth. It's constant adversity. You might as well just get used to suffering. You know what I mean? As a man, you'll get pleasure when your work is complete. You know, you're able to reflect back on all those days you labored, all that knowledge and understanding and wisdom that came to you by experience. That's what these younger generation of men is hungry for, is wisdom, insight.
And you got to show them that. You can't, I mean, that sense of accomplishment, that sense of pride, you can't get that on, this side of the screen on an iPhone or a computer or something like that. Like, you've got to physically touch it, put your hands on it, build it, put it together, fail, figure out what went wrong, take another attempt at it and get it right. That sense of pride and accomplishment from, you showing up on a job site and you're being that solution to a customer. That sense of pride and accomplishment when you roll up your tools and walk out and he's super happy, at the job that you just did. You got to show that to the young kids, because all they see is like your Jake Pauls and Logan Pauls and Mr. Beast and all that stuff, because it's in their face 24/7. They got a cell phone, they got an iPad, they got a computer. That's all they're seeing day in and day out. All they see is that lifestyle. So all these kids want to do is, I'm going to be a YouTuber when I grow up. Or, I'm going to be a social media influencer, or, I'm going to be an artist, or I'm going to be, a football player, or I'm going to be in the NBA. It's like, cool story, but you might want to have a backup plan, because, you tear an ACL, people don't like the content. I mean, like, you could be put out to pasture pretty quick in any of those avenues as an entertainer. There was a lot of artists and stuff that I followed back in the day, and it was like right after that first single dropped, you never heard from them again. So you got a lot of one-hit wonders out there. But to be able to go out there and learn a skill set that's going to serve you the rest of your life. Let's say you get into welding and you do really well at it, and then all of a sudden, your music career takes off, or your Instagram channel takes off, or YouTube or whatever. Awesome. That's the exception to the rule. Chances are it's not. So have that backup plan. Learn a skilled trade. Do something with your hands. Absolutely. And that's something that we got to share with the next generation. I have my welding school down here in Florida. I opened the doors up, just recently over the summer. It's probably going to be an ongoing event every year for local high schools, to do tours at my facility. And I bring them in, and these kids are anywhere from 12 to 17. And I got them in there, welding for a couple of hours just to expose them, just to show them something different. Say, hey, check this out. This is a very cool, skill set. This has served me, like for the past 27 years of my life. I've never been without work. More times than not, I'm turning down work because I have too much of it, because my skill is in such high demand that I get to a point where it's like, I've had enough. I've had enough work. I need to, now I need to go fishing. Now I need to like engage in pleasure and do something, for me, because I'm always constantly being somebody else's solution.
That's right. Yes, sir.
And so now when with your business, how did you go about setting up, as far as, like, obviously you got your LLC set up or you're incorporated, but after you got that stuff, how did you go about finding initial jobs, finding work? Because I think that's an area where, you talk to a lot of welders that go through welding school, and the majority of them, they want to be an entrepreneur. They don't have that work ethic. They don't have that mindset just yet. But they know they want to graduate welding school, and they're like, I'm going to go work for myself. Okay, cool story. Go out, get some experience, But after that, you need to start building up clientele. How did you start initially finding your clientele? Because obviously they're not going to seek you out, initially, because you probably you don't have any Google ratings. It shows you've been active for a week. Like how, you're not going to be up there on the SEO search. So how did you go about finding your initial clients?
So starting out, I did it the most cost-effective way possible. So I went to Walmart and I got a $5 pack of 100 business cards. And you can print them off for free on the website. So I printed off, I bought like 2 of them. I had 200 business cards. And so what I did was, me and my wife, we went DoorDashed. So every time I delivered some food, I dropped a business card at their door for mobile welding services until I was able to get to some jobs. So my phone started ringing out. When you first start the business, you get kind of excited and nervous. Your first phone call, you're like, oh, somebody actually called. And so I get on, like, well, I need to figure out what to say. So, you'll be awkward at the first time, but you start landing your first job opportunity. So just so happens, my first job opportunity when I first started, it was my neighbor down the street. He had a 1988 G-body Cutlass, and he wanted to do a rear notch frame. He came to me, he said, have you ever did one of these before? I said, no. I said, but I'll try. So I started looking up research online on YouTube, how to do this rear notch frame. I was like, that's my type of project, something, I can get in my own zone and take my time. And, I had the plasma cutter. I can cut out the frame, move it back, re-weld it in place, make sure it's secured. So that was my first task, and my first job was simply from dropping business cards in my neighborhood. Literally, when I would go out and DoorDash, every neighborhood, we dropping business cards at the door, mobile welding services. So as I started getting jobs, I was like, okay, now I have to, which is the most important thing, documentation. So I started uploading the work on my website. And I started to go into my, I just use WordPress. And I went in and I started typing in the keywords. I was on, I got this little online course, Learn Academy, and I'm following along with the video that's teaching me how to set in the search engine optimization. And I'm watching and I'm actively, listening to podcasts all day, trying to figure out how do I get my phone to ring. So my most effective strategy was my feet on the ground, word of mouth. I'm my biggest brand promoter. Everywhere I go, I make sure I just drop me some business cards on the ground, on the countertop, wherever. I'm drizzling them all over the streets of Little Rock. And then recommendation, word of mouth. So the only way you can build that reputation of word of mouth is if you're actually getting some jobs. You have to. They started happening more and more. So my first 2 or 3 months, I would get lucky if my phone rang maybe 10 times, maybe 10 times. And out of those 10 calls, maybe one person or 2 people would actually close the deal. And by the time that my work had reached over like 20 jobs and I started to post it on my website, because I recently, just 2 months ago, just started posting all of my work that I had in the archives. Because I wanted to strategize. When I post it on social media, I want the momentum. Because what kills your algorithm is you post and then we don't hear from you.
Yep.
So it kills your algorithm. So I just saved up an archive of all of my jobs from when I first started welding, and I let the momentum take over. So now as I did that, I'm already getting more wiser in my own business because I failed a lot. I say that in all humility. Certain jobs, I was just like, I was under-equipped. I probably tried to bite off more than I can chew. But it was a learning lesson. See, that's the only way you're going to get that experience is if you get out there and sometimes you're going to fail. Sometimes you're going to look foolish. Sometimes you're going to have to go through, that look that people give you. But all in all, don't quit crafting. Don't stop sharpening your iron. And the only way you can get sharpened if your iron is from other iron, meaning that criticism that my elders in the welding industry give to me, I take that to the chin because those guys have been doing it. They're looking at a young guy like me that just knows how to use social media. I respect the craft. I respect what goes into it. What my elders in the industry are telling me, I take into deep consideration. I actually consider what they say. I don't just take it as they hating. No, they're not hating. What they hating for? I look on their profiles. They got way more work than me. They just don't have as many views. And that's a small giant thing. I can help you get the views. I can show you how to make the content. We can work together. If anything, let's form alliances. It's not young versus old generation of welders. It's not that. It's like-minded individuals coming together. So, that's been the journey so far in this industry.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. This segment of the Arc Junkies podcast is brought to you by Everlast Welders. Whether you're looking to pick up your first machine, upgrade from your current one, or equip your small business with new machines, Everlast Welders has you covered. They offer machines for every skill level, budget, and welding process, including true multi-process welding machines like the Lightning MTS series. Check out their full range of power sources at everlastwelders.com to find the perfect machine for your needs. And as a special offer for listeners of the Arc Junkies podcast, when you buy any machine that comes with a stock foot pedal, you can get that free Nova foot pedal and TIG torch upgrade by typing Arc Junkies in the comment section at checkout. Everlast Welders. Weld mean, weld green. Now let's get back to the show. I love that mentality. It's awesome because that's what I tell people all the time. It's like there's room at the table for everyone. So put a hand out, help a welder up. Work together. We don't have to, especially different states. You don't have to fight each other for the work. So let's work together. Let's make each other better where we're at. So that's an awesome mentality. And what you said about failure is great. And I tell people all the time, fail. I would always encourage people, even especially younger people. They'll reach out to me on social media. Hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Do it. What's the worst that could happen? You fail. And you know what? Failure is the stepping stones to success.
Absolutely.
Nobody has ever got it right 100% of the time. Even Michael Jordan. I mean, you think back to Michael Jordan. I mean, that's all he did was practice free throws, practice free throws, practice free throws until he was literally vomiting. I mean, you think about the greats. They failed forward. You have to. I mean, that's the only way you're going to be successful in life is
Absolutely.
You fail forward. And dude, that was pretty crafty what you did with the business cards and doing DoorDash and everything. You're like, hey, man, I'm already out here, hustling, making money. I'm already going door to door. I might as well, drop a business card off. That's brilliant because I was actually thinking about this. All my best thoughts come to me in the shower for some reason. Probably because nobody's talking to me. But I was thinking about it last night because right before I went to go take a shower, I've got my original, I called it a business in a box. And I wanted to kind of do an Instagram post on my business in a box. I've always referred to it as these folders that I would pass out because I did something very similar. So I set up my LLC and then I was like, okay, I got to figure out a way to get my name out there. So I need some business cards. And I just hopped on Staples and they already have logos right there for you. It's all you got to do is type in your information, right? You just type in welding, boom, there's a picture of a guy welding an I-beam. And I was like, that's perfect, So I populated some text on there, and what I would do is I would make these little folders. I went to Staples, got these little folders. Probably the same day I went and picked up my business cards, right? Got these little folders, and it has a business card holder in there. And I also had little magnet-sized business card. They're just like magnetic peel-and sticks, so you peel the plastic off, and you slap a business card right to it. So I'd put a physical business card in the folder, and I would take the magnetic business card, and I would paper clip it on the other side of the folder. Inside of that folder, I would have my insurance information, everything that showed that I was a completely legal business, a current W-9, all that good stuff, and then photos of previous work or printed off customer reviews. Because back then, when I was doing it, we didn't have Google reviews or Yelp or any of that stuff. And I would literally go, after work, because I was working at I was working at a college at the time, and I was like, I'm not making enough money doing this, teaching gig. But I don't want to leave my students high and dry, so I got to figure out a way to make an alternative income. So I'll do mobile welding. I've got everything I need. other than the generator and the welder. And it was right around the time the Lincoln 210 MP came out. I love that machine. I made a ridiculous amount of money on that machine. It was a big investment to get it at the time, but I already had the generator because it was I live in Florida, so it's hurricane season, half the year. So we had a generator, so I'd run the generator and the mobile welding machine. But on the way home from work, I would just stop by restaurants, storage facilities, and apartment complexes, and just, hey, is the manager in? Hi, my name's Jason. I run a mobile welding business. I see you got some busted stuff here, there, and ever. I can fix that stuff. Here's my folder. If you guys need anything, just give me a call. And so I would do that almost every day after work until the phone started ringing. That was the big thing. Once the phone started ringing, then I was like,
"That's right."
Oh, damn! And the phone's ringing. What am I going to charge these people?
Yep.
So I'd go out there and look at it, and I was like, okay, I got to pay myself. And that's kind of how I figured out how to start bidding work. Is I cut my own throat on several jobs just to get the work a bunch of times, and then I started, oh wow, I'm really really underpricing myself. So I started bumping up my rates, and figuring that out. And I did that for about 2 years, and I was sitting pretty comfortable with it. But I got another job opportunity, and my business was growing so big so fast, it literally scared me because I didn't have that security. So I've got a wife, I got 2 kids, and it's like I need that security of insurance and a steady paycheck. Yeah. Like I could probably make this welding thing work, but I need that security. And so I took that full-time position. It was paying well enough to where I didn't have to do the mobile welding stuff. I still picked up side jobs here and there, but then I still take on side work even now. But then it was like once I left, traditional education in 2023 and started a couple other businesses, because I do welding and testing, and then I do Underground Metalworks, the welding school. Now I think I'm in a much better situation to where I don't have to. I'm not afraid. If it fails, okay, cool. I still have a skill set to fall back on. If it succeeds, cool. That's what I'm in it for. So it's that mentality. I've had a big mind shift over several years, but at the time it was scary because the jobs kept getting bigger and bigger, and I was like, I can't man these myself. I'm going to end up having to hire somebody, and now I'm responsible for their well-being. And it was just it was a unique situation to be in, not one that I anticipated.
That's the situation that I'm in now. It is only one me, and I think the best direction for the mobile welding industry for me is essentially just franchise this business and subcontract. Meaning, a lot of these guys, they don't want to be business owners. They don't want to deal with what we have to deal with as far as business wise. They just want to be an employee with tasks. So I would compromise how much I would even pay my personal self in order to make sure my welders and drivers are good. So starting out, of course, it's only going to be 2 or 3. And these are the guys that I certify and train. I'm an NCCER certified welding instructor. Now I just recently got that because I got an opportunity to run the welding program down in Pine Bluff, Arkansas at the WE Center. But I would personally train these guys up, get them certified, make the rig, truck, and subcontract these jobs. A lot of these jobs, I would be just the overseer on them. I wouldn't get too dirty. I got to hire the most savvy guys that I got in the state of Arkansas because my reputation of the business is on the line. So I don't want to ruin the credibility that I've built up by myself just to ruin it because I did a lousy hire or I didn't vet anybody good. So that's where we make that transition from being self-employed to being the business owner, because I'm trying to transition away from being self-employed. Self-employed, of course, we got to do all of the booking, all of the website, all of the finances. But when we make that transition to where we're making enough money, now we're in a position I can hire me a welding crew. I can hire my accountant. I can hire, but that may mean I'll take less money, but I'm thinking about it, the long-term vision of the company. I mean, this is something that you can pass down. This is something that can be your greatest asset. You can maybe sell it one day if you want to. But as far as growing this welding growing this welding business up until the point that I'm at now, that's definitely my mentality with this. I would love to keep this business forever. Of course, it's mine. I raised it up, but it is not my mission to remain in the employee position, which is you can be employed by somebody or you can be self-employed. Either way it go in that category, you're going to be working 8 to 10 hours a day.
Oh, yeah.
But I want to transition into a business owner. I own the company, but I franchise it out. It has management. It has payroll. That's what I would love to grow this company to.
I think that's kind of my problem now because I physically enjoy doing the work. So that's where I got my hang up is like because I hire part-time instructors to come in and teach like the night classes and the weekend classes, but I'm like, nope, that 1 week comprehensive class, that's mine. That's
right.
my time to get back in the lab and teach and do my thing. But I have finally outsourced my accounting. That was something that I was doing year round by myself, and it sucks. And I am not an accountant. That makes me, I took some classes in college, and I did, I watched some online videos and stuff like that, but I now have I don't want to say a full-time accountant because she doesn't work for me full-time, but like every quarter, she takes care of WeldWorks Training Center, and then month to month, she takes care of Arc Junkies Podcast. So I've employed somebody to handle those finances.
Exactly.
I've got a part-time virtual assistant that, is just a blessing in disguise because she handles all the scheduling, the booking, updating the website, posting to social media. Like, it's so much off my plate. And so I'm slowly getting to that point where I can start outsourcing specific things. I think the hardest one that would be difficult for me to let go is like doing the on-site testing, doing the testing at my facility, the one-on-one trainings, the week-long comprehension, because I got that itch to pass off all of this knowledge that I've accumulated and still continue to accumulate because I learned something new about welding every day.
Absolutely.
Like, I want to pass that off to the next generation. I want to get people motivated and inspired to get into welding and seek that out as a career path. And so I think I'm kind of in a good spot right now. It sucks because I'm doing the rest of the stuff kind of by myself, but I'm learning as I go, and I'm putting better plans in process to where it doesn't take as much time. I'm becoming more efficient at a lot of the things that I'm doing, things that you don't think about when you're setting up a business. You don't think about all these little odds and ends, and it's like, oh, I'm the guy, I'm the accountant, I'm the cleaning service, I'm the repairman, I'm like all this stuff on top of the work, that we have the business open to do. So it's a lot. The advertising, the marketing, it's a lot. So I can kind of see where, you want to start hiring some of that stuff out and kind of just oversee and manage.
Absolutely.
That's the way to do it. So how far along are you in that journey as to like, are you planning on starting to hire other subcontractors like pretty soon? Or,
Absolutely.
do you have the workload to support that?
Yeah. So currently, we just set the salaries. We got the shop done for the welding program. So we're about to start teaching people with NCCER curriculum. And at the We Center, we're doing more than just welding. It's an added-on program. We're actually building. We got a general contractor, and we training them up with carpentry, bricklaying, all this other stuff, so we can build affordable houses. And we just implemented the welding program of it. So when I personally train these guys and certify them, well, a lot of them are from the area. A lot of them are not going to be from out of state. Not in the beginning. Hopefully we grow to where we can get people from all over coming to enroll, but it'll be most likely the guys I work with every day to make sure I'm teaching them how we run this business so I can groom them up to where now I can give you the keys. Now you're trustworthy. So if anything, let them shadow with me so they can see my work ethic, the way I think on the job, improvising skills, problem solving, working under pressure, because you're going to be in some situations where you're going to be on the side of a hill or side of a building. You're going to be in some uncomfortable situations in the mobile welding industry, and you got to be equipped and mentally tough to do this type of work. So that's more so where I'm going with this. As far as a timeline, we're pushing to hopefully launch by the beginning of next year. With the whole program, everything is up and running. We got the machines already. We got the space. We're just setting the infrastructure, making sure the payment processes, the website is up and functioning, and setting up the YouTube for content creation. So we're ironing out all of this stuff so we can put people in position. Because, man, when you got the school, we need somebody dedicated to intake. Intake alone. Whoever's the new group of kids coming in, we need to give you the introduction to the program, the safety protocols, what we just call phase 1. Then we start the process of instructors, phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all over the span of 7.5 months. So putting together a power team, essentially. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. So, we're just waiting at this point. Well, I'm just waiting at this point. I'm already ready to work, but I can't do more than what's necessary right now. I have to just be patient, which is not my strong suit.
Right.
I be wanting to build everything overnight, but trying to be patient and let time play out, because there's still some things. Obviously, if it's not happening right now, it's obviously because I haven't obtained the knowledge and understanding that I need yet in order for us to get this thing fully in motion and going. You'll know it's time when it's actually in motion.
That's the hard part is, being patient and like waiting for the opportune moment, because when I was putting my school together, I was working 16, 18-hour days. I wasn't getting paid, but it was like, I want to get this done. There's work to be done around here. I don't want to go home right now. I want to get this work done because the faster I can get this done, the faster we can get the school up and running. I'm not waiting on parts. I'm not waiting on material. Right. Let's do this. Let's get. I want to stay active. I want to get this done, and I enjoyed the physical work of it. And that's the hard part when it comes back down to logistics and admin.
Yes.
And it's like, damn it, I can't just go put something together. Nope. I can't just go, make some welds and get this stuff done a lot faster. Now I'm waiting on emails to come in. I'm waiting on approvals for this, that, and the other thing. I'm waiting on inspections. I'm waiting on permitting. That part sucks.
Sucks.
So what else are you planning on doing with your mobile business? I mean, are you taking on like additional like large scale work, or are you going to kind of keep it rather small and local, or are you planning on expanding into possibly, like new construction or like rehabs and repairs and code work and stuff like that?
Absolutely want to do that type of work. As far as with the mobile welding aspect, I would definitely like to just keep that local. We don't need to grow that bigger than what it needs to be, because that's what I have the internet for. If I want to take anything to the next level, I would force all of my efforts into building that online presence, selling products and services. So the type of work is contracting these property gates demand. This is Arkansas, so this is open land. People live in the country roads, down dirt roads, and they have a lot of people have private land in Arkansas. And the highest demand for here is property gates, entrance gates, property fencing, farms, cattle. So if anything pertaining to a contracted job, like that's what I'm mainly with, because, repairs, that's cool. That'll be its own thing. That's its own little market, which is welding metal repairs. So, crack rims, aluminum, balconies, whatever, handrails and stairs, that stuff gonna come repairs all the time. It never ends. So, but to scale up, we don't have to go to the big boy leagues of manufacturing, big stuff, but definitely want to do simple stuff. Patio awnings, building out these, when you talked about fixing and flipping properties, absolutely. If anything, building up these trailers into when you look at these utility trailers, they build these storage units on them essentially, and they convert them into like a portable shop or something. Or I'm just looking and curious about what all can I do. I'm opening up the box still on the many different lanes that I can get into with maximizing the profits in this industry. So as far as teaching, absolutely. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Education is always going to be a great source of income, whether you selling a course or whatever you teaching in person, and products and services. So what I want to grow and develop it into is, let's go ahead and just order these axles and leaf springs, and let's build custom trailers. Let's build custom campers, custom things, four-wheeler trailers, and let's not be put in some kind of box. People are transitioning into this minimalistic world. So what can we create that can benefit people in certain situations? It's not limited, which is the great thing. It keeps my wheels turning. You know what I mean? It keeps me always thinking about how can I create something or enhance something that's already in existence. How can I make something, a product that can benefit people, and how can I give a service? We already got the service aspect of it, which is the repairs and the install services, but products, because people always go to making grills, Grills is cool. You can make them, but you can go anywhere. People ain't buying grills every day. And you can go on Facebook Marketplace and people see, that's where one of my things is I found a gold mine. People just give away rusty grills on Facebook Marketplace. And it was like nothing wrong with it but some surface rust. I get my thin grit grind on the grinder and flappy disc, and I knock that rust off. I put the treatment on it. I season it with the high heat, and I repaint it, fix the leg on it, fix the wheel on it. I mean, it's just people give it away on Facebook Marketplace. It's crazy. So it's like a gold mine for grills, but it's only so many grills people in your community gonna buy. Like, are you shipping this stuff overseas or something? It's a limited market, and I don't want to be limited with my product. If anything, let's build some dumpsters and let's rent them out. That's a good investment for me. So if we spent $5,000 on material and we welded up that dumpster, we're going to rent it out now for construction sites. Well, materials may not cost $5,000, but just for example's sake, whatever the cost of materials is, that's the investment for me in the welding industry to put my profit towards, is how can I create a product that can make me some money? So as far as dumpster rentals, trailer rentals, whatever, let's build it ourselves. Let's produce it. That's why I say it's going to be great. We training the guys up and certify them to weld, but their first job is for us. If they want, they can turn it down and go work somewhere else, of course. But if they want to stay with us, well, what we're working on is building these nice utility trailers for landscaping companies, for mobile barbershop people that just want a shed built on a trailer. They can hook it up to their truck and go set up somewhere. Food trucks, you know what I mean? It's not
those
limited.
are huge. Yeah,
it's crazy. So like that's what I'm trying to do: find collaborations with people who have this skill set. Let's come together. And whatever I raise for my money, I got, that's my investment. I got my 3,000 here. You got 3,000. Well, let's put this together as an investment so we can build this stuff. Let's build some dumpsters and rent them out. Let's do something. So I'm looking for collaborations and working with individuals that's like-minded.
That's the problem with welding. It's a blessing and a curse because it's a double-edged sword. It's limitless. You can do anything and everything with it. There's 1,000 different ways to make money, but on the same side of that coin, there's 1,000 ways to lose money. So you got to figure out what's financially feasible, what's going to give you the best ROI for the least amount of investment. Absolutely. I mean, you probably know exactly, from doing all your studying and schooling and stuff. You want to try to put the least amount of money in and get the most amount of money back. And I think what you were talking about with doing the custom gates and everything, that right there. John King, he runs Trails West out in Texas. And I mean, like, he bought that company. I think it was on its last leg when they sold it. When he bought it, he turned that whole thing around, and he's just making gates all over the place.
Yes.
Because it takes the right business person to run that business to make it successful. So if you get access to like a CNC plasma cutter, I mean, you could start cranking out gates all
Custom
over the
logos.
place. Oh yeah,
it's beautiful work you can do with a plasma cutter.
Yep. And if there's not that many people doing that in your area, I mean, you can really capitalize on that market.
Exactly.
And put your name out there. The same thing like you were talking about, like the utility trailers and stuff like that. I don't know how it is in Arkansas, but I can't swing a dead cat around here down Florida without hitting a landscaping trailer. I mean, everybody, and I don't know why anybody would swing a dead cat around. This is insane. But there's like landscaping trailers everywhere. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, I actually thought about that at one point. You can go up and just buy one of these trailers and then, customize the whole thing to hold weed whackers and edgers and lawnmowers and reinforce them and, put better welds on them. But, there's money to be made everywhere with this skill set. And it's crazy. There's not too many other professions that are like that, to where you can go out and you've got, once you learn the fundamentals and the basics, like we talked about, all the way, at the beginning part of the episode, once you learn the fundamentals and the basics, that classroom stuff, and then you learn how to apply that, that's the power. No limits. There's no limits. It's crazy what you can do with this trade.
Right.
Now, Jaylon, before we get out of here, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you? I know you got a couple different social media platforms. You talked about a website a couple different times in your new program. Why don't you go ahead and plug all that?
So right now, you can just follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Jaylon Marshall. On Instagram, it'll be Jaylon.Marshall. And on YouTube, you can find me at Jaylon Marshall.
Fantastic. You got a website also?
Yes, I do, at arcbondmobile.com. You can find out more information. We're going to be updating it soon about enrolling if you are in the Arkansas area.
Well, fantastic, Jaylon. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Like I said, I just stumbled across your profile on Instagram. So, I mean, you're obviously doing something right, because Instagram recommended your page, and I started looking through there, and I was like, I got to chat with this guy, because he's truly passionate about doing what he's doing. He's not making content for the sake of making content like a lot of people are. He's documenting what he's doing and showing others you can be successful doing this exact same thing and how to do it. So I appreciate you taking the time to come out here and educate the listeners of the Arc Junkies podcast.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, anytime. All right, ladies and gents, I hope you all enjoyed the show. If you're finding these episodes beneficial to your welding journey, please leave me a review on Spotify or Apple Podcast, and consider sharing the episodes with a friend. You can also stream episodes directly from my website, arcjunkies.com, and feel free to hit me up with any questions, comments, or concerns by sending an email to show@arcjunkies.com. I hope you all have a great rest of your week. Stay safe out there, and until next time, make every weld better than your last.